Unfortunately, and who knows, maybe this has all been done at the perfect time for certain people who think that this tournament needs to be expanded because those poor, impoverished, hanging on by a thread SEC athletic departments are being left out of spring's greatest sporting spectacular, the March Madness.
Yes, it's like the Rose Bowl, but for the whole tournament. Or Sugar Bowl.
But it just seems like it's very convenient that
there's a lot
of all the years where it just seems like every bit of chaos happened and it screwed up a lot of things.
Or madness.
We had at least five conference tournament champions that stole bids.
As you call them.
Dirty bid stealers.
5 of them.
We had a lot of them.
Four-eyed, beady-eyed, dirty bid stealers.
Hell, one of them even came out of the ACC.
Yeah, that's crazy.
NC State wasn't going to go to no dang tournament until they won 5 games in 5 days.
I was like, what year is it right now? We're about to see them beat Phi Slamma Jamma?
And here we are. Perfect time for folks who have an agenda against, the tournament being where it is to unleash their hounds.
Like Mr. Burns.
But if there was a conference that really felt jilted, it was the Big East.
Well, they don't have football, so maybe that's why they got screwed.
Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore and got more teams in.
Yeah, well, for a few more weeks, they're still around.
I guess. But only 3 teams got in.
I thought this conference
Creighton,
was
Marquette,
good.
and UConn.
People told me the conference was good. You always said it. This is a good conference.
It is a good conference.
I trusted you.
It is a good conference.
The Big East is of basketball.
Ken Palm had them the number 2 ranked conference. Number 2.
Dang, so they only had one more team in than their ranking overall of all
of
all conferences?
Is this the first time John's mentioned Ken Palm in 2 months?
Yeah, seriously. What did Bart have him as?
I don't know. I don't know if Bart has like the straight up
Trouble in
conference
Paradise with Bart.
I tweeted at him last weekend. I tried to get him on the show.
Nothing wrong.
I said my co-host adores you, and he didn't respond. He probably muted me. He's like,
I would
this is
probably mute
weird.
you too.
I reached out to him multiple times.
But
sad.
Seton Hall,
only one
St.
time
John's,
in a creepy way.
Providence, all were left on the cutting room floor. Meanwhile, you had a few other teams get in that raised a few eyebrows. And then you got the Mountain West Conference, who got a lot of teams in, but they were all, quote unquote, criminally underseeded. Really? Wow. Every year I say, hey, come on.
Like a
yes, there's
garden.
people look for takes. They look for reasons to complain about the bracket. Because for the most part, the committee gets it right.
Also,
but this year,
you want to complain?
No, I'm not complaining necessarily. But this year, it seems louder than ever. And I would just go back to say, when you got a lot of dirty bid stealers, these things are going to happen.
Yeah, and you hit on it a little earlier with Jack. Like, wow, those wins that Nebraska had late in the season were actually like super important. Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine the stress if they would have dropped one of those games late in the season, or if they wouldn't beat Indiana on Friday, and all of those results are unfolding?
Listen, I follow plenty of Big East people who are of teams that were on the cutting room floor, and
you were
they
like,
were
oh,
stressed.
God, yeah.
Providence, stress. Seton Hall, stress. St. John's, stress.
Yeah, as you're watching all these results and all these games come in, it's like, oh, my gosh, I'm with you. Like, the tournament is so large. There's so many at-large berths in general. I have never been someone to say, and look, part of this, too, is my view on, like, you're not going to win the Natty anyway. Like, this is way different than a 4 seed versus a 5 seed in college football. So, like, I have never been someone to lament that. But, look, I'll also admit, if my team was the one that got left out on the cutting room floor, I'd be pretty pissed, too, because I wanted to watch them play at least one more game. So I understand it from that point of
Well, when
view.
you're a conference like the Big East, who really relies on basketball as your breadwinner,
yes,
this is important because you're missing out on possible tournament units.
Well, and what you just said, too. I mean, it is a league that has been viewed favorably by not just you or people who cover the league, but just the raw numbers.
This is the fewest the Big East has had in 30 years.
Yeah.
Predating the reformation of the Big East. So even post Syracuse, before UConn
I was going to say, the years before UConn.
When Pittsburgh was gone, West Virginia, all those other schools, even those reformed Big East years, they'd get 4 teams, 5 teams, 6 teams in. but only 3 teams in. And the crazy thing is, the 3 teams that got in are all top 3 seeds. UConn a 1, Marquette a 2, Creighton a 3. So are you telling me there's that big a drop-off between Creighton, the perceived third best team, even though they finished second in the standings, but, by the committee's bracketing, third best team, and then you got to go all the way down, and the team that finished with 13 wins in the Big East, Seton Hall, doesn't get a bid?
See, that's the crazy part is, and you pointed this out a few years ago when Nebraska missed the tournament in 2018 when they finished 4th, and everyone's like, sweet, they're 4th in the Big Ten. Obviously, that doesn't matter. But the thing that I think really jumps off the page when you just open up the raw Big East standings is it's not UConn, Marquette, Creighton, like with these wins in conference that are like way above everybody else.
Mhm.
There's not this crazy drop off. Creighton had 14 conference wins, Seton Hall had 13, St. John's 11. I mean, it's not that big of a difference in the raw number.
Well, I went in and I just picked 3 teams that made the tournament and then the 3 Big East teams that did not.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to compare some of the metrics in the resume to see, hey, does the Big East have a great? Now, these are just random teams that were selected.
Real quick. So the teams that are in, those are not the Big East teams.
No,
those are 3 random teams.
Those are 3
But
teams that got in as at-larges.
Okay, and the teams that are out, those are the
teams
3 Big East
Those
teams.
are the
Okay.
3 Big East teams.
Okay.
But when you take a look, I think one thing that's very inconsistent, or at least somewhat inconsistent, is the importance of road wins. The team with the fewest number of road wins among the 6, they got in. 2 of the teams that had the most road wins, 5, got left out. In the non-conference strength of schedule, 2 of the 3 teams that got in had a strength of schedule below 300 in the non-con. And the 3 teams that got left out all had strength of schedules 230th or better. Now, you could be splitting hairs. I mean, it's not a huge, they're still, bottom third in the pack. When you look at their worst loss, one of the teams that got left out, their worst loss by net ranking was the 70th. Meanwhile, you've got a team that got in the tournament that had a loss to a team rated 269th in the net.
296.
Or 296. Sorry, 296 in the
Say
net.
nice.
You can also look at the KenPom rating. Well, a team rated 28th in the KenPom got in, and a team rated 69th in KenPom got in.
Nice.
But a team that was 25th in the KenPom got left out, while a team rated 62nd in KenPom got left out. Same thing with Bart. One team rated 22nd in Bart's matrix got in.
But
The team
21st.
rated right ahead of them was left out.
Mm.
Q1, Q2 wins. The team that had the most Q1 wins of this group of 6 had 6 wins against Q1 competition, got left out. But there's a team that got in that only had 2 Q1 victories. Very, very inconsistent. You might be wondering, who are these teams?
One of these is Nebraska, John. You're going to get punched in the face.
Well, they are.
Oh, you monster.
They are.
You absolute monster.
Why am I a monster? They got in.
They did get in. Dang, look at that.
Nebraska and Seton Hall. Seton Hall has the strongest argument, in my estimation, of the Big East teams that got left out.
Even though their advanced numbers in terms of like the raw ranking and KenPom and Bart's not as good as St. John's, for example.
Yes. Because I think Seton Hall's got a win over UConn.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And their worst loss is the same as Nebraska's worst loss.
Yeah, it's literally the same team.
Rutgers. 103. 103. Providence is the team with the 6 quality 1 wins or quad 1 wins. And they got left out. And their worst loss was to Kansas State, who ended up 70th in the net. But the team, I think the team, and the reason I put them in there, that I think maybe got away with a little something is Virginia. If there's a team in this group, and the only reason I put Nebraska in there was just to give you an example of, what Nebraska's metrics were, because Nebraska obviously was safely in. They were an 8th seed. They were safely in. Virginia 2-7 against Q1. 69th in the Ken Palm.
Nice.
But you look at Providence, better Ken Palm, better BART ranking, 4 more Q1 wins, and yet Providence out, Virginia in.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, listen, and you're right. It's a lot of it splitting hairs. Is Virginia going to go on a run and go all the way? Hell no. Was Providence going to go on a run and go all the way? Hell no. But how interesting it that Virginia, from an ACC that was considered one of the weakest they've ever been. There was talk not more than 3-4 weeks ago. Man, ACC only might get 3 teams in. And I'm getting 6. Well, it's the Big East that only got 3 teams in.
Some comments, some responses. Some disagreeing with you, or rather poking fun at you. And
about what?
Well, Jordan writes, somebody called John a wambulance.
I'm just pointing out facts. Where was I complaining?
I didn't think you were complaining. Adam writes in the text machine.
Maybe Jordan needs to call a wambulance to clean out his ears.
That'd be odd. Just get a Q-tip, Jordan.
Get a Q-tip and make sure you jab it in there.
Whoa, John, don't do that.
You're
technically not supposed to use Q-tips in your ear. They say it's bad.
You're supposed to just let it work itself out.
I do it every day. It's so important. My ears.
Listen, take it from my
supposed to
son. My
gig
son
your
had to go
ears.
get his ears cleaned out because the wax had hardened so much it had just stuck in there.
Yeah, I did that when I was in second grade.
That's also an interesting genetic thing.
Back to the responses and not earwax. Adam says, how did 6 get in from the Mountain West and only 3 from the Big East, which was the second best conference according to the net? Makes no sense. But an email from Zach, John, that's going to end talking about you. Zach writes, after hearing Creighton homers, Big East homers, and Omaha media ridiculously argue that the Big East is a stronger basketball league than the Big Ten, it's nice to see the NCAA tournament committee snap those homers back to reality. I think at the very top, the Big East UConn is probably better than Purdue, and Creighton and Marquette will both probably make it to the Elite Eight. But the Big Ten overall, top to bottom, is a much deeper league. Selection committee validated
it's got 14
that.
teams.
The Big Ten rightly got twice as many teams into the NCAA tournament as the Big East did. And anyone that isn't a Creighton homer, a Big East homer, or an Omaha media member that has bias towards Creighton and the Big East sees that the Big Ten is much deeper, top to bottom. Even the Mountain West got twice as many teams into the NCAA tournament as the Big East. But now we will get to hear the Omaha media, especially 1620 and John, whine about it. And they'll be wrong when they do.
I'm not whining.
Who are
about
these other 1620 The Zone people that are supposedly whining about
No,
this?
is anyone whining about it?
I don't think. I just thought you were.
Sounds like Zach is whining. I'm just pointing out facts.
I'm
I
not
just
whining. You're
bringing up
whining.
Also,
resume
I
and
don't
asking
care.
the
I
question:
don't care.
do they have a gripe?
I literally don't care for the record.
And by the way, the team that I think should be out is Virginia.
Trips.
Zach, in case you didn't know this, Virginia is not in the Big Ten.
People forget they are famously
Now, I
not
would
of
say-
the Big Ten.
Now, I would say this:
Yeah.
if you want to parse words right now, yes, there's a deeper middle in the Big Ten, but that's only because they have more teams. But I would argue, because I like to argue,
Nice.
that teams like Providence and Seton Hall and St. John's are very, very similar, or not similar, but very, 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 very close to the quality of a Northwestern, a Nebraska. And who's the third team? that I'm
Wisconsin?
missing? No, Wisconsin's probably a little bit better.
Illinois.
Illinois is better.
Trips says the Big Ten effing sucks.
Whoa.
And he used the F word.
Whoa.
I can read that on the air.
That's a swear.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Big Ten, famously 24 years since winning a national title.
It's been a while.
It has been a while.
It's been a while.
If there was ever a team that was going to stop that streak,
It's
it would
going to be Nebraska.
Purdue.
Oh, okay.
Purdue. But again, this is what happens when you've got those dirty bid stealers. And there's been so much talk about non-conference scheduling. Kim English talked about it, the coach at Providence. Others have mentioned it. This was something Brad Brownell at Clemson mentioned, and we talked about on the show a few weeks ago, how the Big 12 was gaming the system by playing weak non-conference schedules, beating the ever-loving crap out of teams, and the net rewarding those teams because they look
by a
at,
lot of points.
because they look at margin of victory.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the popular theory is, well, now everyone's going to schedule that way.
Mm-hmm.
And God, I hope that's not the lesson we take from this.
Well, that's the lesson Matt Rule would certainly take from it. More bad non-conference games for everybody.
Don't need to hear about that.